I would like you to look at the person next to you. What do they look like? Are they different to you? Is there something you can pinpoint as beautiful? How much about them can you understand from just a glance? When I first started taking photographs, I turned the lens on myself. With each new self-portrait I took, I learnt two things: more about myself, and more importantly, more about how my camera actually worked. That was until a university lecturer told me all I did was sit at home taking photographs of myself. He was right. The words stung, but they were true. I needed to explore beyond my own four walls. I went around in circles more than a few times, photographing buildings and random objects. But it wasn't until I photographed other people that I realised it was the human connection I sought through my lens. I could see the raw, honest, unedited image of who we really are, the natural, flawed beauty of creation beyond, the words left unsaid. I would now like you to close your eyes. Starting at your toes, work your way up through your body until you reach the very top of your head. Count each mark, blemish, and scar as you go. You can now open your eyes. Everyone has scars in some shape or form, big or small. From that long-forgotten scuffle on the school playground that forever etched its memory in your knee, to the rod of steel that allows you to now stand up strong and tall, to the pioneering surgery that saved your life. Skin is always flawed, and that's what I find so fascinating about it, and it's what makes us different to one another. Skin is sensitive, and it will show the slightest mark. A bruise from knocking into the wall, a paper cut, a neat silver line by a surgeon's hand. I am often asked why scars, and questioned if I have scars myself. The turning point for me was meeting a gentleman who had been significantly scarred after being stabbed by a samurai sword. I found myself intrigued by him as a person, his scars, and his story. Soon afterwards, I found myself researching pictures of scars online. There were so many images kind of designed to please or to shock, but there was something missing. They were pictures, yes, but not people. There was no human connection, no emotion. It was on this basis that I launched my personal photographic project, Behind the Scars, to not only celebrate scars visually, but the people behind them and their stories. If I could help just one person or change the way someone thought about themselves, then for me the project would be a success. I wanted to create an array of different images of people from all walks of life that people could look at and find common ground within them. Within the project, each person who kind of takes part also writes down their story. So these images are my creative interpretation, and the stories then support the photographs. These stories allow us to go deeper than a photograph might allow, stepping inside the subject's mind. Of the 450 portraits I've taken so far, each image has a person and a personality behind it. So when people see the images, I want them to see that person as well as their scar. Some stories are poignant, some funny, some heartbreaking, and all have taught me respect, humility, empathy, and love. I've made many close friends since starting the project, some of which I have since lost. I would now like to introduce you to some of the amazing people from the project and their stories. This is Isabella. In 2015, Isabella was in a house fire. Her scars are constantly changing, but she says she has never felt more beautiful. I remember this portrait well because it was only the second shoot for the project. I was nervous, and so was she. We had only spoken briefly on social media beforehand, but she had decided to trust me to take her photograph. I remember on the shoot, it felt like a really freeing moment, for me and for her. She moved fluidly in front of my lens, and it was the first time I realised that my work was built on trust and the capacity someone had to completely let go in front of my camera. This is Deborah. Deborah also came to the second Behind the Scars shoot. She had surgery for bowel cancer earlier that year. I remember showing Deborah the images on the screen on the back of the camera afterwards, and her look of surprise. She felt that she could be sexy and still have scars. Despite the cancer, she could still have fun. There was so much laughter in this shoot, and it was the candid moments that captured her best. I've photographed her many times in her cancer journey since, even photographing her with her young daughter singing into her chemo pump. This is John. John's image shows that accepting your scars is not always an easy journey. John's scars are the result of surgical errors that have left him in chronic pain. He is not at peace with his scars yet. I remember on the shoot date that John was unsure of revealing his scars fully, so we agreed on an open shot portrait because it felt slightly less revealing. I can remember him being unsure about sharing that he wasn't comfortable with his scars yet, and reassuring him that his story and his experiences were just as valid. This is Bianca. There is so much fun and energy in this image. Bianca's keloid scars developed as a teenager, and they itch and burn continually. When Bianca came to the shoot, she met someone else with keloid scars for the very first time, so ended up spending several hours more as they were just connecting and talking to each other. I can remember asking her to throw her braids into the air and it not going as smoothly as we would have liked the first few times. Braids are a lot heavier than they look. For me, she was young and vibrant, and this was the energy I wanted to capture. This is Barbara. There is a sense of peace and acceptance in this image, a gentleness even. When Barbara came to be photographed by me, she shared that she had recently found out that her cancer was terminal. She wanted a way to turn her scars into art. This is Leo. Leo's facial scars are the result of scaling a fence in a park late at night. Leo has a gentle personality, a warmth about him. For me, that resonates in this image. Leo has encountered prejudice many times due to his facial scarring. People he meets assume he has been involved in fights and knife crime, which he hasn't. This is Mercy. Mercy's scars are the result of domestic abuse. Revealing her scars was a huge step for her. I can remember on the shoot day her coming up to me and saying it was very much all or nothing. It was really hot that day, which is why she keeps her van close by her. Mercy describes her scars as the most expensive piece of jewellery she owns, and she has now found peace in them. Self-acceptance is a journey and not always an easy one. During the healing process, we need to find a way to connect new memories to our scars, both mentally and physically. Many of the people I photograph find that their images allow them to disconnect their scars from pain and trauma, allowing them to be seen in a new way. Now you've been introduced to these people and their stories, do you feel any differently? If you do, I'd like you to ask yourself why. Social media has often been blamed for our lack of face-to-face social interaction, but it is the medium that I choose to share my images. I choose to share them on Instagram to make people stop, think, instead of swiping and scrolling straight by. I want to use it to share a wealth of beauty and diversity. The personal and intimate images capture people's attention and encourage them to read the story below. The human connection has been made. A community is built. I want people to stop, think, question themselves, their views, their connections, and why this image made them stop. I want them to understand my connection when I take that photograph. As a photographer, I have a social responsibility, be it visual or vocal. We all have a voice that enables us to share stories that would otherwise go untold. The smallest of voices can carry great weight and be listened to by many. So tell your story, share it, with friends, colleagues, the person you meet in the street. We all have the ability to connect with each other through our work, through others, and as individuals. For me, a true photograph does not exist without some form of human connection.